Okay, here's going to be a quick video on interest groups. I know this one's not as interesting or entertaining as some of the ones that you guys made, but I will try to make it quick. First off, we're going to talk about what is an interest group. We've talked about this in class, so you should know that they are a group of people with similar policy goals. And their goal is to try to influence public policy through different parts of the policymaking process. They want to get their issue, whether it be guns or abortion or um, funding for their business. They want to get that turned into policy or law. And they are different from political parties because they're really not choosing our candidates. The political parties focus on the elections and choosing the candidates, but the interest groups want to affect policy in every way in the government. That may mean that they do support a candidate, but they're not actually the ones choosing the candidates for office. Okay, so now we're going to look at types of interest groups. There are, let's see here, 6 main types of interest groups. Economic interest groups, environmental interest groups, equality interest groups, consumer and public interest groups, professional interest groups, and government interest groups. We're going to start with economic. These are groups affected by government economic policy. So basically, if the government's going to make a policy about its economy, it's going to affect these groups, and so therefore they want to influence that policy. They would be things like labor unions, like the AFL-CIO, business groups such as the National Chamber of Commerce, farming groups who might need farming subsidies to keep their profits going, or any type of corporation basically that wants the government's economic policies to favor them. These would be the type of policies that would put like regulations on how much, carbon monoxide they can release into the air, or how much pay they have to give their employees, or how many benefits and things like that. They're going to care about this because they want to continue to make profit. So they're going to try to influence the government to support their ideas on these issues. The next type is environmental interest groups, and a lot of times these go against the corporate and economic interest groups. These are groups who want to support the protection of the environment, such as the Sierra Club, Audubon Society, World Wildlife Fund, Greenpeace, PETA. And the issue they have is that they're trying to have the government make more regulations on businesses and people so that we have to protect the environment. So they're kind of in opposition to a lot of the economic interest groups. Next, we have equality interest groups, and these are the ones that get really controversial a lot of times. Nope, I take that back. We're going to get to them next. These are the groups who fight to ensure equality for different groups. One of the oldest of these groups is the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, but we now have some more minority groups who've started to organize and form these, such as NOW, the National Organization for Women, GLAAD for gay and lesbian groups, and then the National Latino Congreso. I'm not trying to say that, but anyway, all of these basically advocate for the rights of their minority group. Next are the consumer and public interest groups. These are organizations that are saying they're trying to improve the quality of life for everybody, but of course they kind of focus on an issue in their side of the issue. The National Rifle Association would be one. Another good ones to think of, these are those groups about abortion where like Planned Parenthood supports the right to choose, or religious groups like the Christian Coalition or anti-abortion groups would be against abortion. So all of these are any specific interests that could benefit society as a whole from the mindset of this group. And then next is professional groups. These are kind of boring in that they're just basically groups organized around a profession. So if you're going to be a doctor someday, you might belong to the American Medical Association. The American Bar Association is for lawyers. So basically every profession out there has a professional group to advocate for it. I didn't put a slide in here also, but there are government interest groups. Basically, the state of Indiana kind of is its own like interest group that might go lobby, send lobbyists to go to Washington, D.C. to advocate for what Indiana wants, or Indianapolis might do the same thing. So government groups also have interest groups. So how do these interest groups actually get their policies enacted? The biggest way is through lobbying. They have people who work for them to go try to influence the policymakers. And honestly, lobbying kind of is a bad word in politics. They have a bad reputation for trying to use money to bribe lawmakers, but that's really not what happens. They just try to get influence. Basically, they offer these services. They're experts and can provide information to lawmakers. They can help with strategies for getting legislation passed and for winning elections, and they're a great source of ideas for legislation. A lot of our lawmakers get elected but have never really written a law before. So it'll honestly be lobbyists who suggest laws to them, and sometimes they like them and then move forward with them and make changes. So the lobbyists are often the experts on the issue that help the lawmakers make the policy. They'll testify in committees about the topics and things like that. But there are some other ways besides lobbying. Electioneering is the way that interest groups get involved in the political process. They might aid candidates who support the views of their interest group, like giving them money through their PACs. They form these political action committees to be the fundraising part of the interest group, and they might, create fundraising materials for the candidate. There's also litigation, which is basically bringing lawsuits. They can sue that laws that are passed are violations of the rights of their interest group, and cases may go all the way to the Supreme Court. The NAACP has done this in many famous instances. They can also write amicus curiae briefs. This is a really important vocab word. Basically, these are letters to the court saying that we are encouraging you to view the case this way. They're called Friends of the Court briefs. And last but not least is publicity. They can run their own ads to influence the public opinion about their issue. You guys have seen those ASPCA ads, like with Sarah McLachlan, that are so sad. The music playing in the background. Things like that where they get people's attention. They can also send out mailing and solicit donations and things like that. So interest groups are a big part of our life. They're a great way for you to, if there's an issue you care about, get involved in the political process.